day and good deeds. Welcome to the We Do Good Podcast. My name is Charles Dame. I am here to spread good deeds and joy. I am joined today by my good man, Fam. Fam is Louis Famiglietti, and I'm not going to say that right. That's why I call him Fam. He's a master sergeant from the United States Air Force. Let's go, motivator. This guy exudes what service and the country has to offer and leadership in the area. We're going to kick this today. Fam, welcome to the We Do Good Podcast, and thanks for taking some time with me today.
Charles, thank you so much. I love your energy. We're already off to a great start. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time. And in the few minutes that we've been together, I see how absolutely busy you are. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Oh, man, it's absolutely no problem at all. I'm really cool. It's really cool to know all about you. You're actually a 20-year veteran in the Air Force, now, not just a regular cat. You worked on things like fighter jets. You had a global mission. You've done community organizing, helping power very efficient engines and other things like that with Lockheed Martin. So you've done some pretty crazy stuff. One of the things you worked on, I guess, was the F-15. Is that correct?
That was my very first job in the Air Force was to work on F-15s in Okinawa, Japan.
How cool was that? Is that the Eagle Strike Fighter? Is that what that thing's called? Or?
No, it's not it was a C&D model. So the precursor, it wasn't the Strike Eagle. So the less cool, it was the air-to-air version. I don't want to say less cool. It was differently cool. So it's the air-to-air version.
Okay, that is cool, man. Air-to-air versions are pretty awesome. What different bases you stay at? I know you spent some time in Korea and Germany. Out of the places you were at all across the world, give me the top two duty stations that you had.
Oh, top one, it's not even a contest, Germany. Germany was amazing. I was there for 6 years. I had an incredibly easy job, so that was a huge start. We did no flight line, just equipment maintenance. So that right there was a benefit. And
that was a cool spot. So my son serves over in Germany. Were you at Ramstein?
Ramstein, yes.
Ramstein.
Ramstein. Yeah.
Ramstein Air Force Base.
Oh,
That's really cool. When I went back over there recently, I got to see a lot of stuff. Did you drink any of the Glühwein and stuff like that when you went out in town?
Of course. Oh, every winter. We would always go to the Christmas markets because they're world famous for a reason. They were amazing. And they actually do Glühwein, which I enjoyed. But for those who didn't like Glühwein, they did spiced apple cider hot apple cider with vodka.
Yeah,
and that is dangerous.
Man, I had an opportunity to go over there for last Christmas. So around this time last year, my daughter is her husband's stationed there. She actually works for the base chaplain. Or whatever. Yeah. She's like his secretary, and her husband's a loader on one of those. What are those? What's the big? It's way bigger than a C-130.
C-17.
I think it is. It's a C-17. That
right.
Makes sense. What did you work at all, or were you around C-17s?
I was.
Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What are those things like?
They're amazing. I didn't get to work on them, but they used to take us places all the time, and that was always a nice ride. When you found out you were going on a C-17, if you ever flown anywhere in a C-130, it's like a flying school bus. School bus meets blender, so you show up somewhere 48 hours later with your sick to your stomach. But you made it. You made it safe because those things are indestructible. So the C-17, it's big, it's beautiful, it's pretty, it's reliable. Most importantly, when it brings you someplace austere, it's going to bring you home as well. So that's always nice. It was awesome. But when I was in Germany, we were a logistics squadron. So all of our entire mission was to maintain, generate, and deploy bear base kits. So
bear base. Is that something that the Marines use? Because it sounds pretty intimidating.
It is. If you were going, in fact, our highlight was I was working in the ops center overnight when we got the call that we could start shipping equipment into Bashar, which was in Iraq.
Yeah, Bashar.
And that meant that we had crossed the border. And what I knew, and what anyone who knew was that meant in the last 48 hours that we had people in harm's way doing miracle stuff.
Yeah,
incredible stuff, because we crossed the border. Not only crossed the border, we secured a foothold. We were going to build a base. So what they called our squadron, and we would send everything that you needed to build a base, from the forks and knives to the tents to the medical supplies to everything that you would need to build a base in an austere environment.
That is absolutely crazy.
It was
I never even knew that. I love doing this podcast, man. I get to learn such cool stuff. So listen, your Air Force journey, how did it begin? Tell me, how did that whole thing start? Because all of us have our different stories. Mine was like, I'm in a lot of trouble, and the Marine Corps would take me. What was yours?
So mine was simple. I wanted something better than what New England in 1995 had to offer. It was a tough life. It was a tough economy at the time, and I wasn't going to college. That was very clear. I graduated 123 out of 125 students, and I was certainly
top of the class, huh?
Top of the class. I mean, it's still top 123. So that's I'm a positive person.
Absolutely.
And there's still two people who didn't even meet that bar. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm way ahead of everybody
right?
else. Absolutely.
One of those actually, sadly, one of those two people who finished below me is in jail right now. So
he didn't join the Air Force.
He didn't join the Air Force. That's really the key. I wasn't going into college. That much was true. And so I was either going to be a truck driver or I was going to go into construction. That's what an Italian kid did in New England.
That made sense, yeah.
So my best friend one day, he comes in and he said, I'm going to join the Navy. Hey, you join the Navy. I'm going to MEPS. This is on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Next day, he was out of school. Comes back Monday. I said, where were you this weekend? I joined the Navy. I told you I was going to. You kidding me? Yeah. Well, we're seniors in high school.
Yeah.
And I had a pamphlet from the Air Force Academy. So I went to my guidance counselor. I said, hey, I finally found the college I want to go to. He said, which one? I said, the Air Force Academy. He said, you don't know much about the service academies, do you? I said, no, why?
Not number 123 out of 125.
No. He said, let's go ahead and work on getting a job first. I said, okay. So once I understood the ridiculousness of what I said, but that seed was planted.
Yeah.
A couple weeks later, I told my parents, and it was the first, I've always got crazy ideas, and it was the first time my parents genuinely just kind of looked at me and said, we'll support you on this. Not that they always supported me.
Yeah, yeah.
But with this big, I didn't think my mother, I was the youngest in an Italian family. I didn't think she'd let me out of her sight.
You were the baby.
I was the baby.
Yeah, Italian
and I
baby
loved that
on
role.
top of it.
I embraced
Do you
fully.
still play that role?
I do. My beloved mother has passed away, but I have 6 older sisters who...
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So you get to be baby brother whenever they're around.
I do.
That's awesome. Hey, what was the one moment during your career that kind of captures what service and your time in service means to you?
So there were that's a
right?
hard question.
It's not
That's
an
a
easy
big
one.
question. I think my first few years, 95 to 99, we can probably predict where I'm going with this. Those were easy years with the Clinton, the Bush era. Military was enormous. With my first couple roll calls, we had 50 people on one shift. Life was good. Our airplanes still were of the right age, so they weren't breaking down yet. And then the Clinton era had started the drawdown, so money was getting tighter, equipment was getting older, there were less people. I didn't understand any of this. The older heads just used to complain, they're cutting our budget. But life was good. Air Force was I don't want to say a party culture, but there was lots of partying. As a young airman, I went to a base event, and the wing commander gave out free beer for anyone who showed up. I said, this is great. I'm in Okinawa, where you can go right across the road and surf or swim and go to the beach.
Absolutely.
There's
man,
free
I did some
beer
time
at the
in
base.
Oki. I was up at Camp Schwab.
Yes,
in
okay.
Okinawa, man. Did jungle warfare training, drank the Habu sake, all that kind of stuff. Went down to Kadena.
That's where I was.
Oh, is that where you were at?
Yeah.
We went down to Kadena. We'd cause all kinds of havoc, go into your barracks. We had a guy that actually blew off a smoke grenade in one of the Air Force barracks.
All right,
Because we'd come from the field and he still had it left. You guys didn't like us coming up there because the ladies. And you didn't like the Marines coming down from Schwab. And some guys got a little whatever, and one of the Marines was like, hey, I got a smoke grenade. And we were all like, no, dude, we're on like the 3rd floor of the barracks. What are you doing? He's like, what are they gonna? They don't know who we are. And he did it. Man, it cleared.
Nice.
That entire
it worked as
Oh,
advertised.
absolutely. It was absolutely horrible. Couldn't believe we got away with it, but unbelievable. So, while you were in the Air Force, man, big things for me in the Marine Corps: integrity, honor, discipline, things that we learn. What were some of those things that you see that Air Force shaped in you with those kind of traits?
So I want to point out that in my Kadena era, the U.S. Marine was my mortal enemy. And part of it was because of stories like you just shared. We were co-located. There was a Navy base,
Yep.
but the personnel on a Navy base ebb and flow depending on what ships are in.
Yep.
But the Marines were always there. And we deployed. We went TDY with the Marines to Thailand. We shared a ramp. This was, you could not have taken a better picture of the difference between the Air Force and the Marines. So we both got there the same day. We were going to fly F-18s on one side of the ramp, F-15s on the other, and we were going to fly against the Thai and Singapore Air Force. We're all going to have a big joint exercise. Very first day, we show up and they have this little building that's going to be our headquarters. Marines are on one side, Air Force on the other. There won't be no problems because there's going to be no problems.
Right.
Day one, we got there and they said, be ready for the bus tomorrow at 0600. Marines were told, get back to your room, get a good night's sleep. So the next morning, there was about 40 airmen, and I myself was laying on the ground. I had a aircraft chalk as a pillow. It reeked of alcohol. And the Marines were like 20 feet away from us doing PT to get ready for their morning. And I'm like, here's a bunch, like 40 airmen laid out, hungover, stinking hungover. And the Marines are right next to us doing their push-ups and jumping jacks. I was like, if we survive this 2-week trip without getting beat up by Marines, it'll be a miracle.
The funny part about that is the Marines were probably just as hammered the night before, but our command didn't care. If you went out and got hammered, you still did PT the next morning. If you puked, you puked. You stayed in line. So that's really funny. But yeah, you're absolutely right. All we did was PT. It seemed like that's absolutely unbelievable. I'm gonna transition kind of in a different direction. I want to talk a little bit about some of the philanthropy that we do locally. Some of the things you've talked about getting involved with. We have a local police officer, Eric, that up in Port St. Lucie, who was shot recently. He has an amazing family, and one of our objectives became immediately to help his family. So we have our Golf for Heroes tournament coming up, and it's going to be to raise funds and help him out. I know you said you were looking forward to coming out and having some dinner. What does community service and that kind of stuff and being able to be involved in those type of events mean to you?
So I've been lucky enough. One of the things, and I never answered your previous question. I apologize for that. Was that they always wanted that whole airman concept, and they encouraged us to get off base and get involved and do things. And you did it initially. Some people did it because they wanted to just do good and feel good. And a lot of us were like, why? They tell me I need to do this for my annual performance review, and I need to have some volunteer. And what I like is it wasn't always, maybe the initial catalyst for you to go out and volunteer was because you needed it on your performance report. That does happen.
Yeah.
But when you do something, and you're a testament to this, it's a feeling that you don't get in other places. When you do something genuinely for somebody else, and you understand the power that is, and you go to an event, and it's not just you see that there are 100 people here. There are 1,000 people here. And they all are focused on raising money or supporting one particular cause or event. And it's all walks of life. That when you go to a charity event, nobody's worried about how old you are, what color you are, what orientation you are.
It's about the mission.
We're here to support somebody.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And every time you did that, that felt really good. What was it for? I don't know what it was for. I didn't care ahead of time. We did a 5K. Why? To support MS. And before you went and ran your 5K, there was a bunch of people who were going to benefit from this research. And you see them, and you see them running, you see them working, you see them trying. If I can't go out and do something after this, then that's shame on me. And so what you're doing for our law enforcement, this is our community, someone who's sworn to keep us safe. And we know what law enforcement goes through. It is harder today to be law enforcement than ever before.
Kidding. And what a great, brave group of individuals. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad I got to take a chance to get a take on that with you. Moving forward onto some of the different roles, you transitioned out of the Air Force after 20 years. What was the transition like leaving the military?
So I'm going to be totally honest. My transition was unlike most. In I had hit my 20-year mark, and I was right at 1 month shy of my 20-year mark is when I was diagnosed with colon cancer. And I was about to rotate. I was stationed in Korea, going to rotate home, see my family for Thanksgiving. And then I was supposed to be back in Germany, actually. And I was going to celebrate my 20-year anniversary in the Air Force at a German Christmas market. And that was going to be my retirement tour, really. I'm going to do 4 years in Germany, maybe make E8, maybe not, and we'll see where it goes. And that's when I got diagnosed with colon cancer. So I said, well, okay. So that's going to pivot my plans. I lost my assignment to Germany. But when the doctor told me that I was sick, the briefing was, you need to get your affairs in order. Okay.
Man,
Like, what do you
weird.
mean?
That's a weird situation, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, do you have everything worked out? Because things could go wrong, right?
Yeah. And that's, no, I don't have it worked out. I don't at all.
Right.
And because
I was planning on living for another.
I'm going to Germany.
Planning on living for another
I'm
30,
gonna
40
make
years.
E8, and honestly, I just don't have time for this. So if we could forget you ever told me that, that would be great. That's just not how it works. So I was single at the time. They said, we have to send you, you're going to need a caregiver.
Wow.
So you have to go. I didn't even know the military did this. It's incredible. A testament to everyone involved. I don't even know who they were, all behind the scenes, a bunch of incredible people. They sent me back. They said, where are you from? Connecticut. Is there a hospital you want to go to? Yeah, Yale, of course. Like, send me to Yale, maybe one of the best hospitals in the world. It's kind of a Hail Mary. They said, no problem. We'll send you to Yale. So a week, went to the hospital on Friday, diagnosed Saturday morning. By the following Thursday, I was sitting in Yale New Haven Hospital in Guilford, Connecticut with my mom and my sister.
Wow, how cool,
Like,
right?
6
At least
days.
to have that family around at that point in time.
Right.
Did I've gone through it with my family members, right? I haven't had cancer. My wife, had breast cancer. My mom had esophageal cancer. I've seen family members and friends go through it. Is it painful? Does it cause a problem? I mean, what's it like while you have it, or do you even know you have it?
I got really lucky, and it sounds crazy. I started displaying symptoms. If anyone takes anything from this, if you have symptoms, go to the doctor and do what the doctors tell you. Because I started displaying symptoms around July. I didn't get diagnosed till November. The symptoms I had were similar to food poisoning. I was getting the sweats. I was shaking. Would go from the chills to the sweats. But I did not want to take the time to get myself cleared medically. I thought I could push through it, and whatever this was, I would push through it and we'll be fine.
It's crazy, that mentality. So I did the exact same thing. I had a heart attack at 48. I had a 95% blockage in my left main ventricle.
Wow.
Right? And my answer to when my chest was hurting was, well, I need to do more push-ups. Let me run a little harder. And I remember going to a water park with my son in West Palm Beach. And we went down the water slide, and we came out the other end, and we had to get through this like tough part of water. And my son was having trouble like getting out of this part. He was kind of stuck, and he needed some real help. Like, he needed some help to get out from where he was at. And I went to go get him, and I couldn't go get my son. Like, I started, like, my body shut down, and I looked at the lifeguard, and I kind of pointed at him. And I didn't say anything to my wife. I didn't anything. 2 or 3 days later, my wife started noticing stuff. I was on the couch. Man, if she didn't tell me to go to the doctor, I'd be dead. Because you just, well, it's the same thing you just said, right?
I know.
I'm just gonna push through it. So, sorry to interrupt, but
no.
I mean, it's our mentality from the military or who we are. I'm just going on with whatever it is I need to do. I don't have time for this, right?
Right. Listen, and I don't want to caveat down a road that we don't need, but that mindset, two intelligent people that made very stupid decisions
Absolutely.
And listen, and a lot of the veterans in our community and first responders and a lot of the people that We Do Good focuses on suffer injuries that are not physical, and they treat it the same way. I will get through this. I will get better. And these things do not go away. My colon cancer was not going anywhere. And your heart issue, that blockage was not going to resolve itself. And these are physical manifestations of injuries. And a lot of our peers, they have the emotional toll, and they treat it the same way. And it ends the same way. So I'm so glad that you're here. Because look at all the things that you've done from that point to today.
And this conversation we're having right now, and the difference, hopefully, this one conversation we're having right now, who knows what it could do and who it might help and everything else. So it's absolutely amazing how the paths God has for us, or however you look at divinity or however you look at spirituality, the paths that are determined for us that are out there. When you make the right decisions and you do the right things, great things happen. And sometimes these things that happen in life are serious wake-up calls. For me, it was an insane wake-up call. I wish, and I'm going to say this, I'm not going to wish. Based on this conversation we're having right now, I am going to make a better effort because I know I have been eating horribly for the last year. When I first had the heart attack, I was straight and narrow. Fish, none of this. I'm going to eat great. I'm going to this. And for 2 years, I was great. The last year or so, I've been I'll have the ribeye. you know, I got a little gluttonous again.
Yeah.
So I gotta watch that. But what kind of things have you found? Now. Well, I guess you had a relapse, right?
I did. Yeah, I did. So my Air Force career came to an abrupt end. It just came to an abrupt end. I was on medical leave for a year. They returned me to duty, and I had a chief that as soon as I got sick, he reached out and he said, anything you want, anything you need, you tell me, and we'll make it happen. Thanks, Chief. So about a year later, again, honestly, we thought, well, I won't be here to ask any favors, so that's fine. Then lo and behold, the doctors at Yale told me, we're going to fix you, so don't do anything stupid because we're going to fix you. Okay. And they returned me to duty.
But let's go,
at that point, I had met the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life. She was my girlfriend at the time, but would soon be my wife. I was living in Connecticut. My mother liked having me home. There was a job on the horizon. So I called my chief, and he said, what do you want? Where do you want to go? I said, I just want you to help me retire quickly. I don't want to move and come back. I said, if you can just grease the wheels and get me retired, and that'll be good. Are you sure you want to do it? Yes, Chief. So that was it. I hit the button. They approved it. A couple months later, I was civilian. So that transition, it was in a short time frame. They said, well, we're done with cancer, so that's good. And you're done with the military. And here I was starting my first day at my new job as if nothing ever happened. And I didn't tell anybody anything. I just showed up to work like a retiree would and thought that I could proceed as normal. And what I found out the hard way was that nothing about this was normal. And some of the real challenges were just beginning. So my transition was difficult. It was just difficult and delayed. I responded to this trauma by kind of not dealing with it. I'm just going to laugh it off. However, I do remember watching TV, and I saw a gentleman on TV, and they said this is his second time with cancer. And I remember thinking, well, this can come back. I forgot about that. It can come back. And sure enough, within my first 3 months of working at Pratt & Whitney, it did come back. And that time, they said it was stage 4. Now, the doctor did warn, he said, we have to classify it as stage 4, but please don't get nervous. It's because it's a mathematical equation. So we're going to fight it the same as we did. And that time, it wasn't as funny that time. Not that it was funny the first time, but I treated everything with humor. I used to joke, I got a C card. No one's going to tell me no. I'll get a free dessert. I got the C card. I used to make stupid jokes because that's how the military deals with trauma.
Absolutely, that's how you deal with the suck.
Right, embrace the suck.
You embrace the suck and you laugh.
Yeah.
Right.
And but the second time I was like, It's a lot less funny, and that's when I just kind of responded by shutting down. I was like, I'm gonna power down and maybe wait to die, and hopefully I can do it with some dignity, you know. But it wasn't happening. That was just in my head.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the people that were around you as well, your family, your friends, the people you cared about, your wife at that time,
Hmm.
right? They weren't feeling that way. They were feeling like you're going to do this. You're going to fight, right? So
Right.
you had a real solid support system, I'm sure, around you for the second time. It's unbelievable that the first time, I mean, thank God you flew back. You had your sister and your mom, and the second time you had your wife and your family around you again. So that's great that you had that rallying cry. How did Pratt and Whitney treat the situation?
They they were amazing. They were amazing. I went. I got to call one of my coworkers. I'll never forget because she was such a sweetheart about it. So you don't look good, man. You don't look good. You need to go to the doctor. Yeah, I'll go. She's like, tomorrow. You better have gone to the doctor. Yeah, I'm gonna go, and I did. Honestly, part of me, like, I knew something was wrong, and that's why I said, I don't want to find out. So I went and I told my boss, and those folks rallied around me. I was out for three. I'd been at work for 3 months, and then I was out of work for 3 months. So by the time I got back, I was technically an employee for 6 months, and only half of which, and the job was hard. That was a very difficult job, and so I've like really I'm starting from zero, and my coworkers were unbelievable. They checked on me. My boss came to the hospital to visit me. He was a retired colonel, Air Force colonel. He had a lot of that military mentality of this is not a job, this is our family. And that doesn't translate always to the civilian world, but this dude came to the hospital and checked on me. We hardly know each other. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah,
And here he is
absolutely.
showing
That
up.
means a ton.
I to this day I tell him I'll run through a wall for Vince. Why? He showed up to the hospital. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he showed up to
Yeah,
the
he showed
hospital.
up, and that means everything,
It means
right? It
everything.
means
Yeah.
everything. Absolutely, showing up, being there for other people, is one of the best things you could do in life. I kind of live by the motto that one good deed can change anything, and I'm going to tell you, when there's those situations and you're in that place, having somebody take the time out to do that good deed or take that time to be with you, yeah, it makes all the absolute difference in the world. It completely changes everything that's going on in your life. That's for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So when you were at Pratt and Whitney, did you work on the F-35 at all?
So I do logistical support on behalf of the government for the 135 engine, which goes in the F-35 fighter. So I was,
Okay.
yeah, it sounds amazing, and it is.
You're like, it sounds awesome, right?
It
Now
sounds
let me tell
so
you what I
cool.
do.
It's a lot of spreadsheets. Behind every good airplane is a good spreadsheet. Let me tell you, and a PowerPoint presentation.
That's right. That's
It,
right.
I became one of the first links in the supply chain. It was my first job at Pratt, and it was awesome. It is. You meet incredible people. One of my mantras was always surround yourself with good people, right?
Yeah.
And the always phrase, don't be afraid to be the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah.
Then we warp it to say, if I'm the smartest person in the room, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
You go into any room at Pratt, and I am definitely usually the dumbest person in that room. It was surrounded by just high capacity,
Well,
energetic
Pratt and
engineers.
Whitney's full of military
A
people
lot of
and everything
military,
else, right?
a lot of
What was
veterans.
that? What was that transition from? I know we had talked a little bit about the difficult transition
Hmm.
and how that went. How did your military background? How did the military transition? Those military things. How did that help you while you were at Pratt and Whitney?
I think the biggest thing that it helped. Well, I understood the language of the customer, which the military has its own language. Air Force has its
Absolutely.
own language from the Marines, and it was important that we understood that was our customer. We weren't. I wasn't forward facing. I didn't interact with customers directly, but there weren't many links in that chain, so we had to support them the way that they wanted to be supported. At the same time, we knew we're doing things a little differently. And it was important to my managers, and I had the ability, along with some of my team members, to explain the new way that we're going to do things using the language that they're familiar with. And it didn't seem like a big deal, but when someone who doesn't speak Air Force flight line is trying to explain, well, we have this new concept, and what we're going to do is a little bit different from what you had in the past. A military commander, they don't always allow you a lot of time to explain. It's, I want bottom line. I want my answer. What is my bottom line? I don't need all the extras. And we were able to step in and say, here's what's going to happen. Here's how it's going to affect you. And here's the feedback that I want, so that I can help you further. And the other thing was not being afraid. The challenges are everyday challenges. There was always a project. We don't know, even the customer asked for something and we don't really know how to get it to them. Okay, well, that doesn't bother me. We can figure that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that was the number one thing. You don't have to have an answer.
What did you, yeah, well, that might even be the answer to what I was going to talk about next, which is, we've got a lot of veterans that are stepping out into the corporate world now. And they come from the backgrounds that you came from, that I came from. What would you say people stepping out and walking into Pratt & Whitney that are veterans that are walking into that corporation? What would be like one of the pieces of advice you'd give them when they walk in?
First and foremost is to learn patience with yourself and with your coworkers. You have to allow yourself time to adapt because the environments are different. And I see a lot of people that they approach it not with a negative attitude, but they're just not ready to embrace the differences because there are plenty. I got told, I went to a meeting and I just wanted answers to a question because my feet were being held to the fire, so to speak. And then a couple of days later, I got called to my boss's office and said, well, you were a little aggressive. Please explain. And, well, at this particular meeting, you were very aggressive with and I offended somebody. And I'm the least offensive person, I think.
So far.
And I'm working on it, but...
You really need to work a little harder, but you're doing okay.
I've also procrastinated, so I'll get there. But then I'll go home and I'm trying to, and my wife was like, you were aggressive? I was as surprised as you. But then I'm thinking, I just wanted an answer. And it was coming down to, well, that'll come in time. Well, the person asking me I'm not going to turn around and tell the person asking me that, don't worry, the answer will come in time.
Yeah.
And so I got a little assertive. I don't want to go back to the same person and tell them to wait a second time.
Yeah.
We do not operate that way. And
Right.
so I had to learn, yes, there are times when we do have to operate that way. So instead of just getting frustrated, I take a deep breath. This is the way I'm cool. My boss is cool with me. We're cool. Everyone cool? Then we're fine.
Everybody's cool.
Everybody's cool.
Cool.
So take a deep breath. I'm going to be patient with my coworker. It is not the same environment. I'm going to be patient with myself. I'm not going to beat myself up. And then also enjoy it. Like, enjoy the differences. Different doesn't have to be bad. There will be differences that frustrate you and differences that I didn't get yelled at for being 1 minute late to roll call. Right. Somebody actually said to me, actually, they asked me how my first staff meeting was. And I responded, well, no one got yelled at. So I'm happy.
Things are good.
And they looked at me as if I just, made the worst joke ever, and I was being serious. You get through a meeting without somebody getting yelled at?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey,
Solid.
man, nobody got screamed at. Nobody had to do push-ups.
Yeah.
Nobody got, dug in a corner or something. Everybody just made it out of there in one piece. Seemed like things were great.
That's a win.
Yeah. You take the win and go.
That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me shoot a couple things at you. We'll do a couple like quick rounds
Okay.
real quick and see what you come up with. Favorite military holiday?
Favorite military holiday? How lucky that in 20 years, I probably got almost every Christmas off. So time off is like I know. I love to even say it out loud.
Man.
We at least got the day off. But 4th of July. 4th of July on a military base.
Let's go.
Forget about it. It was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just so everybody out there knows, I don't want to cause any confusion, but the greatest military day that's out there is the Marine Corps birthday on November 10th. Hoorah, Devil Dogs to everybody that's out there. Just want to make sure I'm clear that the favorite military day for me is, I'm just throwing that out. Can you tell I'm a Marine?
I got that feeling.
It kind of comes across every once in a while.
I had suspicions.
Yeah. All right, so a couple other things to talk about before we kick it on is when it comes to getting involved with things bigger than yourself, doing good deeds like we talked about, what's a piece of advice you would give the younger generation? What steps can they take? What's the first step they can take in order to try to do unto others as you would like done unto you, or that positive vibe?
We beat up the younger generation for wanting to make the world a better place with grandiose ideas. And that is the wanting to make the world a better place is commendable, and that should not be diminished or belittled. But start small, do something. Your motto is 100% true, one good deed. So find something that you're passionate about, something that you like. You don't even have to know anything about it, but if you want to start a coat drive in Connecticut, start small. I want to gather 5 coats, and I'm going to bring them to a shelter. Nobody has to know about it. You don't have to. No social media. You can do it. Do the first, like Adam told me. Don't overthink it. Just do it.
Adam Peters.
Good
dude, man.
Really,
Love me
I
some
met
Adam
him once,
Peters.
and I'm very impressed, and I hope that I can someday support him and return the favor. And
Adam
don't
and James are all
overcomplicate
they're all great people. They helped me get started in what I'm doing. Adam, I did my first podcast with Adam. He was absolutely fantastic. It's so yeah, good people. So don't overthink it, so on and so forth. What do you think the military community right now? What do you think currently would you say is the biggest need that you think? And let's make it fair, right? Rather than saying the whole military. What's the biggest need you think the Air Force has at this moment in time?
11 years I've been out, so some of it, well, I guess 8 years, something.
You still have TV.
I know. Your story about your transition kind of bothered me. We just spoke briefly before we started recording. The Air Force has done a better job, hopefully the DoD overall, at transition assistance. I had to go to a 5-day class. They explained a lot to me.
Yeah.
They really did. They don't explain everything. I do want. We have to put an emphasis on resilience and allowing people freedom to ask for help. That's a circuitous way of saying at one point I had a top secret clearance. I was going through a divorce, and one of the pieces of advice I got was, whatever you do not go to mental health. That's what we used to call.
Absolutely, that was the advice.
Yeah,
that was a stigma, right?
Yeah.
In all the professions, whether it's and all the pointy end of the spear professions. If you're a Marine, if you're a firefighter, if you're a police officer, I talk about this on my podcast to everybody, and that's the common theme is. Look, man, if you want to pick up promotion, don't go to mental health.
Yeah.
If you want to keep your clearance, don't go to mental health. If you want to have a successful divorce with your wife, don't go to mental health. If you want to have a successful marriage with your wife, it was everything. It didn't matter what it was.
Right.
Don't go to mental health, right? Because that was a block. What a horrible idea and thought process that was. Would you agree?
These were NCOs and people that were my mentors, people I respected as adults, as mentors, as non-commissioned officers. Gave this advice as if it were Motrin at the med group. Like, that's it. Just whatever you do, don't go to mental health. And at one point I'm thinking, now going to mental health could adversely affect my career, but whatever damage I do to myself by not getting treatment I need is definitely going to affect my career adversely. So, to me, I did end up seeking out treatment. I was kind of forced. I got myself in some trouble. And then I actually went through a couple weeks of talking to somebody, and it really put me on the right path. And I remember thinking, and nothing ever happened. It never came up again, ever. Nobody has ever asked me.
Right.
Nobody's ever, well, didn't you go to mental health? No, because I was young and 22 years old. I needed somebody to point me in the right direction again. I need to get reoriented.
Yeah.
And that happened, and it never came up again. And I thought later, like, well, we got to fix this. Because then we talk about the veteran suicide after the fact. Well, how about we stop telling you at the very beginning of your career not to seek help?
How about we start at the beginning and say, first thing you should do is seek some help. It's only going to help you at the end of the career.
If you don't know how to do your job, you ask somebody who does. If you don't know how to fix a tire, you ask somebody who does. But yet when it comes to feeling better about yourself, if you don't know how to do a push-up, you ask somebody who does. Right. Hey, bro, you're pretty jacked. Can you show me how to?
He'll teach you how to do a push-up.
Yeah, Marines, they're good at push-ups. So that was one of, and I'd really like to think that we're better now, but I'd have to go back and talk to some airmen to find out, because that was the one thing that you do good at with a lot of ways, and that was one that we dropped the ball real bad.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Fam, thank you for showing us that service doesn't end at the end of the runway, right? Thanks so much for all you do now. Thanks for much that you're going to continue to do. I'm looking forward to catching your first podcast, because I know that that's going to be coming out soon. So I'm looking forward to catching that when you get an opportunity to put it out. Let me know. I'm looking forward to promote it and everything else. For those of you that out there, make sure you check out Fam's podcast when he gets ready to rock and roll with it. My name's Charles Dame. One good deed can change anything here on the We Do Good podcast. Don't forget to do good things to other people and be kind to those that need it. Have a great day, and goodbye.